Good evening and welcome to CYC News for the 16th September 2018 and the 6th of Tut 17:35 am. I'm Mira Gerges. In today's headlines, rescuer hit in airstrike keeps filming to capture the horror in Syria. Florida Republicans distance themselves from Trump's Puerto Rican death toll claims. Hungary Prime Minister says his country will not be blackmailed. More than 1,000 detained after Russia protests. Many killed in attack on Iranian Kurdish opposition headquarters in Iraq. Officials warn people to stay out of path of Hurricane Florence. US Open umpire Carlos Ramos thrown under the bus in Serena row. But first to Syria, where a rescuer who was hit during an airstrike continued to film so he could capture the horror around him, as he had done dozens of times before. An SLDab rushed to film the aftermath of an airstrike in Syria's Idlib province. The 22-year-old citizen journalist and rescuer with the White Helmets volunteer group snapped photographs of a leveled potato chip factory in Khan Sheikhoun last Friday. As his friends and colleagues hosed down the flames, another explosion hit. This time, Diab became a victim, but he kept his camera rolling. The dramatic footage provided by the White Helmets shows Diab bleeding heavily from the legs, unable to stand as he cries out for help. He shouts to his fellow rescue workers, guys, please come carry me, I can't move." Several other men try to get him to safety, but without a stretcher. They are forced to drag him out, his bloody legs trailing through the dusty debris. One of Diab's friends says, I know you, my dear Anas," as he rushes to help him. Then comes the whoosh of a plane. Another bomb lands and the men are pinned to the ground. Airstrikes are nothing new to Khan Sheikhoun, the town in Idlib province where more than 80 people were killed in a sarin gas attack last year. Up to 3 million people are packed into a rural enclave in Idlib province that borders Turkey to the north. Among them are some 70,000 fighters, their allegiances ranging from moderate to radical. The United Nations has warned that with the sheer number of civilians crammed into this enclave and the clearly disproportionate firepower used on them, the operation may soon become a bloodbath. US officials are worried the regime could again use chemical warfare. To the United States now, where two of Florida's top Republicans on Thursday distanced themselves from President Donald Trump's false claim that Hurricane Maria did not kill nearly 3,000 people in Puerto Rico last year, despite an estimate accepted by the island's government. Both Florida Governor Rick Scott, who is running for Senate in the state, and former Republican Ron DeSantis, who is running to succeed Scott, issued statements affirming their belief in the death count. Puerto Ricans are a key potential voting bloc in Florida's closely contested elections. Following the 2017 hurricane, thousands of Puerto Ricans were estimated to have moved to the state. Scott tweeted, "I disagree with @POTUS. An independent study said thousands were lost and Governor Rossello agreed. I've been to Puerto Rico 7 times and saw devastation firsthand. The loss of any life is tragic. The extent of lives lost as a result of Maria is heart-wrenching. I'll continue to help PR." DeSantis' statement did not mention Trump by name, but his campaign's decision to come out against the president's view was particularly noteworthy, given the candidate openly courted Trump during his primary campaign and has commended him countless times. Trump disputed the death count from last year's hurricane, despite the government formally raising the death toll from the disaster to 2,975, following a study conducted by researchers at the George Washington University. Trump's administration has been faulted for its response to Hurricane Maria, although he says he believes it was an incredible unsung success, while many on the island disagree with the assessment. To Europe now, where members of the European Parliament traded verbal blows with Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban in a debate last Tuesday over democracy and the rule of law in his country. The Parliament decided to launch disciplinary action against Hungary on Wednesday, with more than 2/3 backing the censure motion in what is the most significant rebuke of Orban's right-wing government by the bloc. It voted to punish Hungary over breaches of core values, marking the first time Parliament has invoked Article 7, the EU power designed to curb human rights abuses. Orbán, who won a third consecutive term in power this year, has previously locked horns with EU leaders over his country's hardline immigration policies and for clamping down on democratic institutions, as he consolidated his power. Defending his country in a speech on Tuesday, Orbán hit out a report accusing Hungary's government of corruption and undermining democracy. He said, "Hungary is going to be condemned because the Hungarian people have decided that this country is not going to be a country of migrants. I reject that the pro-immigration and pro-migrant forces of the European Union should threaten and blackmail and smear Hungary and the Hungarian people based on false allegations." Under Article 7, the most serious punishment that could be inflicted would be the suspension of Hungary's voting rights in the EU. Police in Russia detained at least 1,018 people in nationwide protests against the proposed government pension overhaul Sunday, a Russian independent monitoring group said. Protesters gathered in cities around Russia to rally against a government proposal to raise the country's retirement age. The protests were organized by supporters of opposition leader Alexei Navalny, who is under administrative arrest for organizing an unsanctioned rally in the capital in January. The crackdown was heaviest in Russia's second-largest city, St. Petersburg, according to independent local media and OVD Info, a non-profit organization that monitors detentions. The group said at least 452 people were detained in the city. Images from the St. Petersburg protests quickly went viral. A local photographer, David Frankel, confirmed to CNN that he had captured two particularly arresting images: the detention of a school-age boy and an older pensioner. TV Rain, an independent television channel, said one of its correspondents, Masha Barzanova, was hit with a baton as police broke up protests in Moscow. She wrote on Twitter, "Others got hit harder, no need to worry about me." Navalny is largely excluded from state airwaves, but has reached a wide audience through a YouTube channel and social media. A Navalny Twitter account posted video of the arrest of one activist as he streamed a live appearance from the Moscow protest. Protests organized by Navalny have become a vehicle for expressing discontent with Russian President Vladimir Putin and government corruption. Putin's ratings remain consistently high but have been dented by the pension controversy. Returning to the Middle East, and at least 12 people were killed and 50 others wounded last Saturday when missiles pounded an Iranian Kurdish opposition party's base in northern Iraq, with party officials immediately blaming Iran for the assault. In a statement, the party said 3 children and 3 women were among those killed in the attack, which occurred at the headquarters of the Democratic Party of Iranian Kurdistan, or PDKI. The attack happened in Koysenjak, a city about 65 kilometers east of the city of Erbil in the semi-autonomous Kurdish region of northern Iraq. The PDKI accused Iran for the attack on its base. The statement read, "Iran used long-range missiles in a coordinated attack on PDKI's bases and adjacent refugee camps." A representative of the PDKI in Erbil, Mohammed Salih, said the shelling was intense and was carried out by missiles fired from inside Iran's territory near the border. Salih said PDKI leaders Mustafa Malodi and Khalid Azizi were injured in the bombing. The Kurdistan Regional Government Council of Ministers condemned the attack and expressed condolences to the families of the dead and injured. It called on all parties not to turn the territory into a field for settling accounts. Numbering around 30 million, Kurds make up a sizable minority in a number of Middle Eastern countries, including Iraq, Iran, Syria, and Turkey. Despite nearly a century of Kurdish nationalist movements in various countries, the Kurds have never had a nation of their own. Returning to the United States now, and officials in the potential path of a still fierce Hurricane Florence had a stern, clear message for people still in coastal towns under evacuation orders. Leave now. North Carolina Governor Roy Cooper said, "You put your life at risk by staying. Don't plan to leave once the winds and rain start." Cooper and his South Carolina counterpart, Henry McMaster, told the more than 1 million people who have been told to leave that if they don't, they're on their own. In Carolina Beach, authorities at 8 p.m. on Thursday stopped allowing traffic to the island via the only bridge between it and the mainland. They also instituted a 24-hour curfew. Officials worry that as many as 1,000 of the town's 6,300 residents are staying in the town, which is less than 5 feet above sea level. Town manager Mike Kramer said law enforcement officers would try to assess how many people are still on the island, immediately south of Wilmington. Mayor Joe Benson said the storm would batter the oceanside town through 2 high tide periods. Storm surge of 13 feet on top of a high tide at 7 feet could overwhelm Carolina Beach. He said, "Our sand dunes are healthy, but they're not going to be able to keep back a wall of water like that. Flooding is almost guaranteed." And in sport, Carlos Ramos, the umpire at the center of the storm surrounding Serena Williams at the US Open, was thrown under a bus by tennis's governing bodies, says a former top-level umpire. Richard Ings said the treatment of Ramos after a final, which sparked debate about sexism in tennis, would have left umpires everywhere seething. Last Saturday's final descended into controversy in the second set when Williams was given a code violation for getting signals from her coach. She was also handed a point penalty for smashing her racket and then docked a game for an outburst in which she called Ramos a liar and a thief. She was later fined $17,000 for 3 code violations. Ings said Carlos Ramos has been a professional umpire for 4 decades. There's no one more experienced, no one more knowledgeable, no one more capable as an umpire than Carlos Ramos. If governing bodies can throw him under a bus, then umpires everywhere are seething. They've lost their safety factor of knowing that these governing bodies will support them. The 23-time Grand Slam champion, who went on to lose the final in straight sets to Japan's Naomi Osaka 6-2 to 6-4, handing the 20-year-old her first Grand Slam title, later told reporters that being penalized a game was sexist. And that's all for CYC News. A reminder that you can watch this news bulletin again throughout the week on YouTube. I'm Mira Gerges from the CYC studios in Sydney, Australia. Have a good night.